Hey, today we're talking with Army veteran Tyson Koska, fellow helicopter pilot. He's with OnTrajectory, which is like a personal finance software. Really looking forward to hearing about that. And you basically created that company and wrote the software, so it's going to be interesting. So before we do that, I really want once you go back and tell us about your experiences in the Army.
Yeah, I mean, it was a while ago, so I want to make sure people realize I got in 1988, so it's been some time, and I'm sure things have changed a lot, but there's certainly things that are still, I whenever I speak with veterans, there's a lot of common stuff that we've all went through, and not the least of which is just basic and the getting started part. But I had a pretty good experience in that I traveled the world. I went directly from high school to flight school, which was just incredible. And, you know, um, back in 90, when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, I didn't know that I wanted to be in a combat zone, but turned out that that was a really also very fascinating part of my life. Learn things about yourself when you're in that situation.
Mhm.
And came back with skills that I never anticipated having from a confidence perspective or a can do or a willingness to solve problems. Um, it was a wonderful experience. I had a great experience, and then I was supposed to be in for a minimum of 6 years. I got out a couple years early. I was only in for 4 years, so I was out in '92, and then I went to college.
Mhm. Now, interesting. You went and you got an English and a history degree, I believe, from
Philosophy, English and philosophy.
English and philosophy. Okay.
Yeah, ridiculous degrees.
Yeah. So probably fascinating and definitely personal improvement and definitely has its purpose, but not a whole lot of jobs coming out of college.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a struggle. When I went to college, I thought, you know what, I did the past 4 years um, doing what I was being told to do, and I was like, I just want to just read books and learn about how to think, not what to think, which is where the philosophy came in. I I I, I wasn't a huge reader when I was younger, but I enjoyed art and that sort of thing, and so I just went all in on that. You know, I got an English degree and a philosophy degree, and I think the philosophy degree definitely shaped me more because philosophy's got two real sides to it. It's got the hardcore logic component, which is almost mathematical in the way you deconstruct arguments and you look at the world, but then it's got philosophers like Nietzsche or that are very deep in human psychology. So I that was really enriching getting that degree.
Yeah. So coming out of college, struggling with the job market, what was next on your plate?
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was a very weird time because ha- I felt really out of place. Actually, during the entire college career, I felt really out of place. Having done what I'd done, flying helicopters and being a warrant officer, and then being a freshman in college. It was a very weird time, but not all of it bad. I mean, yes, bad in some way where you feel like somebody's parent almost in some of these classes, but also I felt so much better equipped to deal with um, the situation. Yeah, there was a lot of studying, and I mean, like any college, and there was also a lot of other extracurricular activities. But I always knew, like, and I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone before. When I would start a class, and within the first week or maybe the second week, I would literally have a plan of what am I going to do to most efficiently spend my time to ensure that I get a good grade, that I approach the material in the right way, but I don't do it in a way where I don't spend any extra time on this course than I need to and still be successful. And by the first week or two, I had every semester, I had each one of my courses, I had the whole map planned out. I knew what I could miss, what I needed to do, where I could go. They give you the syllabus, you learn the teachers' personalities. And except for one time, it was a very successful approach, and it really I ended up graduating with a 3.92 GPA. So it worked.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. Right before I retired from the Marine Corps, I was like, I want to get I think I'm going to get a master's in something. I'd always wanted to do it, but it just wasn't really in the cards. And I'm like, I want it to be from a brick and mortar school. I don't want it to be from one of those degree factory places. Um, I wanted it to be 100% online, which was just starting to be available at that time. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do the degree in. And I thought, well, you know, the MBA is the logical thing, but I knew I was probably going back to my airline job when I retired. So I didn't really need to pad my resume. So I'm like, if I really wanted to, I almost did something in IT, but in the process, I discovered you could get a degree in entrepreneurship. And I'm like, you can get a master's degree in entrepreneurship. And I was like all in with that. And I had a similar experience where first time through college, I was just doing what I had to do to get by. But I think TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, at the beginning of the class, I had it all mapped out how I was going to slay this beast, and boom, boom, boom. And sometimes like you would do the online test, and you have to have it proctored by somebody there. And the test was due by Monday morning at 9 or something like that. Well, I'd take the test Friday afternoon. I made sure I was ready to go. So if back when I was an undergrad, just a snot-nosed kid, I would have put it off until Monday. I mean, I would have but I'm like, I don't want to ruin my weekend here. So I was taking the test Friday afternoon, and I was fully prepared. And yeah, my GPA, I think I may have gotten 1B in the master's program the whole time, which, you know, not anywhere close to that when I was in undergrad.
Yeah, that's great. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, it's amazing what some of the military experience and some maturity and everything else played into that. So, so you ended up doing something in IT at some point.
That's so yeah, graduate, as you said, the job prospects they're not banging down your door to come teach them philosophy.
Mhm.
And I had a lucky accident happen earlier when I was quite young. I was during the summers when I was 13, 14, and 15. I had my own business, and I saved some money, and I bought a personal computer. And just as a do-it-yourself project, I taught myself how to program. And so I'd always been interested in the personal computer, and I understood it a little bit better than most people since I knew how to program a little bit. And so when I got out and I realized that initially I thought I wanted to teach, but then I realized I didn't want to teach kids. They were just way too hard to teach. And I thought, well, maybe I could teach adults, but I didn't know what I wanted to teach them. Maybe English as a second language, and then I fell into a technical learning company, computer learning company, teaching software. And they needed a technical instructor. And obviously I had to dust off a few things, but I ended up teaching a Microsoft certified course in computer software. After teaching that course, I realized I don't even really want to teach. So I just went and became a programmer, and then spent 25 years in IT after that.
Awesome. All right, back talk with Army veteran Tyson Koska with OnTrajectory. So, Tyson, you said your first venture into the IT world, taught some Microsoft certification classes, that kind of stuff, but you decided, you know what, teaching really wasn't for you. So you started learning programming or getting back into programming. Ultimately, what kind of a job did you end up in? Were you just freelancing, or did you go to work for somebody?
I ended up at a small kind of boutique consulting company in downtown Baltimore. But honestly, I didn't even have to look for a job. So I was teaching at this computer learning center, and I was picking up more skills, more skills, more skills. Ended up just posting my resume on Monster.com. If folks, that used to be the big.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first big ones.
Right. I put it out on Monster and literally had recruiters calling me, just calling me and offering me signing bonuses, even when my skill set wasn't a perfect match. It was a very odd time back in the mid to late 90s for folks in the IT field. They were we were hiring high school graduates, no college degree required. So it was a pretty easy entree into actually doing IT as opposed to teaching computer software. And then I just continued to learn there was also, the company was very supportive of education. So I could take courses and they would pay for them and get certifications, and just grew over a 25-year period, growing more and more within IT.
No kidding. And so are you still doing a lot of that, or have you completely gone out on your own in the entrepreneurial world?
At this point, I've gone out on my own, but this is either the second or third time.
Yeah.
It hasn't always worked out. Well, I began the current company that I have. I've actually began back in 2014, so we've
Mhm.
been around for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I created it just literally for myself. It was there were certain personal finance questions that I wanted to have answered, and I didn't want to have to constantly update a spreadsheet. So I created some software, and that software helps a person figure out their long-term financial plan. And the software said, okay, back in 2018, you can quit your job for 1 year. And if it doesn't work out, you'll have to go back and get another job. So I did what my software said. I quit and I tried to grow the business, but it took a lot. It was slower than I anticipated. So
Yep.
back in 2019, I went back to work again. And then in 2020, it said, okay, you can quit again. So I'll quit again. So, but this time we've been much more successful, and things are going really, really well with that.
Yeah. So your software OnTrajectory is most, for the most part, a personal finance software.
That's it. Yes, that's exactly. So it is true personal finance software. It's not software like you might go online and say retirement calculator or something like that. You put in 4 or 5 numbers and then it spits out some number and you go, oh God, and then you call up the broker. It's not that kind of software. It is truly meant to help someone, a regular person, not a financial planner or whatever, a regular person be able to figure out a 30, 40, 50-year financial plan with some of the real intricacies. So if you don't know, you're not super financially literate, you can use it. If you are super financially literate, you can use it. And in fact, we now have coaches and advisors that use us to service their clients as well.
Yeah. So you basically just created it for yourself, for your own personal use. And when was it where, the proverbial light bulb came on? We're like, oh, I think I might be able to sell this. I might have a product here.
Yeah, it was a very defining moment.
Yeah.
I had, as I said, I used to do all this stuff in spreadsheets. And then I sat down, and at the time I was consulting in New York, back and forth to New York every single week. And I spent a lot of time on the Amtrak train. And I took that spreadsheet and I basically created a user interface on top of it, and where you could define out your income streams and your spouse's income streams, and you could define your expense expectations, like, oh, if I want to send my child to community college versus more expensive university or whatever, or you wanted to say, oh, I've got contributions that in a TSP or 401k, or whether it's civilian or military, and you could literally just click little arrows and toggle numbers. I'm contributing to this account, or I'm contributing to that account, or I'm spending a little bit less here, and you could see instantly what that does 50 years down the line, and you might put in what I did is I put in an expectation. I said, okay, I want to continue this IT gig for, how many years do I need to continue this IT gig before I can say, you know what, forget it. I'm going to go work in a bookstore. I'm going to create a little garden and grow something and sell it on the roadside. Like, I wanted to do something just kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I could literally dial that number in. I could see the exact date in the future when I could make that decision happen. And I thought, and it just gave me so much confidence, and it was thrilling to be able to just click those little levers, that I immediately went to some other programmer friends and said, we've got to make this for everybody. Everybody needs this.
Yeah. So being in the IT business, you already had a resources of people to go to and pull them in and start making it, usable by anybody.
That's right. Yeah. And these were better programmers than I were, so they could more efficiently get everything done as well.
Yeah.
Having the network was real important.
So how long did it take you to flesh it out and actually get a fully working product?
We all had day jobs, right? So we were all full-time,
Mm-hmm.
mid-career IT folks. So what we would do is, we'd work in the evenings. Sometimes they lived up in New York. I lived down in Baltimore. We'd meet in New Jersey in a roadside motel somewhere and code all weekend. It was fun, but it took us a year just to make a beta, just to make something that we thought was just barely usable.
Mhm.
And then that beta software, we went out to Reddit forums and folks in the FIRE community. I'm not sure you're familiar with what FIRE means, or should I define that term?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there's this whole community of people called the FIRE community. It stands for FI, Financial Independence, /RE, Retire Early. And
I've never heard of that. Huh.
yeah, it's significant. But you have to be like, probably in that mindset or in that community to discover it. So, but there are resources. I mean, there are dating websites for people in the FIRE community, because part of the biggest strife in a marriage or in a relationship is when people have different attitudes about money. So these people that are in this FIRE community, they don't want to like have to convince someone that, oh, hey, this is the right approach to dealing with financial planning or
Funny,
money. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I have completely gotten off the track here.
Yeah. So you started going out to Reddit forums and with the community, and so you're basically trying to generate interest and letting people check it out.
And just to see, because had no idea. I mean, I knew I liked it. I knew my partners liked it, but we're three guys, and I have to be honest with you, none of us were marketing savvy. We're not sales guys. We're like engineers, like making software, trying to answer questions.
Right.
And so we tested the waters, we threw it out there, and the beta, we got like three or 400 people that signed up and were actively using the platform. So we thought, okay, that's good. And so we did that for we did the beta for about a year. Then I think we did like a quote unquote official launch, which I don't really know what the difference was between the beta and the official, just adding more features, adding more functions. And then eventually we started to, we wanted it to be something that we could all work on together and take forward. So we started charging some money. So unlike tools like Personal Capital is a very popular tool that's got some pretty nice, easy to use planning tools in it, but they sell your data. They contact you every week trying to get, they try to take all your money and manage it for you. And then there's sites like mint.com or something that helps you do budgeting and some planning, but they're always pitching you and advertising, and they're selling your data. We're not. We're just like, we're a tool to help regular people figure out their financial future. So we have a small subscription fee, and that's how we run the business. We don't sell your data. It's all private. You own it, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So what were some of the lessons learned? Like you got a finished product, it's working, it's getting some attention, it's getting some momentum. What were some of the marketing, sales, and promotion lessons learned?
Well, I will say that so I'm sure you've heard, coming from the entrepreneurial world, that having the attitude of, if you build it, they will come, doesn't work.
Right.
That's like a mantra. It doesn't work. And I knew that logically, but I still couldn't get it through my head. I still spent, I don't know, 5-6 years of my life just listening to the small user base that we had, and making the product better and better, what the community wanted, what I thought was a good idea. And even as my life changed, I mean, for example, when I left the job, I had a 401k. I wanted to combine that 401k and roll it over into an IRA that I already had. Well, I realized, I need to build that feature into my software. So as life changes happen, we would continually to build on it. And we tried some marketing, but like I said, none of us were good at it. None of us were enthusiastic about it. And we didn't want to just throw money after it, because one thing in the personal finance space is you got some really big players. You got Fidelity and Vanguard and, big guys throwing big advertising dollars. So I'm going to be honest with you, we were kind of stuck. And then in 2021, we had an investor reach out to us and said, we've been watching your tool grow. We love your tool. We want to help you take it to the next level. So we took on investor capital. We sold a very large portion of the business to them. And now they're helping us, the three little engineers, they're helping us grow the business in the right way with marketing, proper channels, and that sort of thing. So I stubbornly didn't really learn how to crack the marketing game very well.
I mean, sometimes a lesson learned is that's not your sweet spot. So don't try to learn it, because you built a viable product. So why not have somebody else do that that's really good at it? After giving equity to the investor and bringing in capital and everything, and letting them take it and run with it, once that happened, did you realize like, oh wow, yeah, okay, these guys really know what they're doing? Like,
Oh yeah.
holy
Oh yeah. I realized like within a week or two, I was like, oh my God, I would never like our lead investor, he's super sharp, wonderful guy. And the way he framed it, the way he talks about it, the way he is positioning our future, I'm like, oh my God, you've blown my mind. I didn't even realize the potential that was here until he helped put all these pieces together. So
Pretty cool.
it's really exciting. It's super exciting.
Yeah. Like, I'm real curious about that. Like, can you go into more? You have like some examples of?
I can. Yeah. I mean,
I don't, because
I
that's
can't
really
get super
cool thing.
proprietary, but
Right, but
yeah, I can
it's
chat
a really
little
cool
bit.
thing to be sitting on a golden goose, not really know for sure what you got, and some other guy comes in and goes, I don't know if you realize this is what you've got, and this is what we're going to do with it. So
Right.
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I can a little bit. So I've always been focused on the consumer, on the personal person
Sure.
who wants to check out their financial future and be able to navigate it. That's my thing. It's why I made it. That's what I love to do. I love to solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
But he helped me realize, hey, you've got all these people that are looking to solve these problems. We've got an industry where nobody owns their data. We've got the Mint and the Personal Capital, and we've got the Fidel, and you've even got advisors that once they take your data, they own your data. The consumer can't take it with them. They can't use it to get a second opinion. They can't cut somebody off. They can't say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with this relationship anymore. I want to go someplace else, and take their data with them. Data portability, data privacy, and frankly, a data marketplace where you could empower the consumer to make a decision and say, I don't want to give you my data for free and then you make money off of it. Maybe I want to make some money off my data. I want to own my data, throw it out there. And you know what? Maybe I'm interested in refinancing my home. I will sell you the opportunity to pitch me to refinance my home. And so have a marketplace where banks and lenders and other people you can monetize your own data and keep it private. I mean, the idea just blew my mind, and that's what we're working on. And the other thing is we're linking it up on blockchain technology. So it is completely immutable. It is completely non-destructible, and you don't have to worry that we're going to pull the rug out under your feet at some point because we get sold to somebody. So it's this very public in the sense of we can't just change it, not public in the sense of everyone has access to it. But so we're building it on the latest technologies, and we're coming up with ideas that are disruptive to the whole industry.
Can you explain a little bit about what you mean when you say we're integrating blockchain technology with it? What does that mean? Because all this.
I know these keywords get thrown around, and people aren't careful to define them. So everyone's heard of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Right. Well, the reason that those things work is that when a transaction is created, it is written to a unchangeable, unalterable sequence of code. And no one can go back and change the history. If you've got access to it, you can see it. It's verifiable from parties on both sides. It's almost like a contract that cannot be broken and cannot be changed. You can amend a contract, you can change a contract over time, but you can't go back and change the terms. And so that we're building it on that technology, it brings this level of confidence and security, but it also brings the ability for the consumer, for the person whoever the owner of the data is, to turn on and off access to that data. So by putting it on this highly secure latest um, iteration of secure technologies, it brings this level of privacy and security that the industry just has not seen. Because before now, it's just been data in some company's database. They can do whatever they want with it. They can. There's nothing. There's no way to verify or check the calculations. There, it's just hidden. It's all black box. This technology allows us to change that.
Interesting. I've had a few crypto guys on the show, and I follow what you're saying. I still don't completely get it, but that's not why we're really here today anyway. So,
yeah, I mean,
it's wild stuff.
It gets into the math of it and how these technologies are built. And, frankly, I know enough that I can talk about it. And I have programmers on my staff that could tell you more low level, but if we go much deeper, we'll both be swimming.
Exactly. Well, so we're getting close to the end of our time. So how do we find OnTrajectory if we're interested?
Sure. Just OnTrajectory.com. That's the way.
Simple enough. And what are there different levels of pricing involved? What's it cost?
So currently we have a free 14-day trial, and you get everything. You get play with whatever you want. And we have a subscription. Subscription is $60 per year. But we are about to, so I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but
April 18th.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. So around April 18th, there's about, we're going to be have a permanently free version, which is it's just not as advanced and is going to be good for a lot of people. And then we're going to have a more advanced version, but the advanced version is going to be priced at $80 per year. But I'll tell you this, Joe, anybody that joins, if the new price is already kicked in, but they heard about it from your podcast, just write to me, Ty, at OnTrajectory.com, and we'll get you the old pricing.
Awesome. That's great. Okay. Last word, you've made it in the entrepreneurial world. You're at the beginning of your trajectory with the business. Essentially, yeah. Things are going great. Looking back on it, experiences you've had, success. If you're talking to somebody that's in the military, they're on their way out, and they want to run their own show, get into entrepreneurship, run their own business, what kind of advice comes to mind?
Yeah. So my main advice, and it's the main reason that I even started the business in the first place, is that no matter what tool you use, no matter it could be a pen and paper, it could be a napkin, doesn't matter. One thing that I think is really, really important for everybody's life from a well-being perspective, human well-being perspective, is personal finance is something that we very often keep in our heads. We don't really have a clear idea of what we have, where we're going. We don't even know where we want to go. So my advice to everyone is, listen, just sit down, make a plan. It's probably, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to change. Life changes, situations change. But if you can get the numbers out of your head, you're going to find that you're able to live a much more enriching life, because it leaves a lot more space in your head for living in the now, for living with your family, for enjoying your spouse and your situation. Because with those numbers up there always clouding your decision making and always clouding and questioning, can I do this or can I do that? It changes. You don't have as much room for living. Get the numbers out, make a plan, you'll have a better life.
All right. Sage advice. All right, Ty, great interview.
Joe,
look forward to seeing the success of your business OnTrajectory, and check back in with you in a year or so.
Well, no, I'll see you at Mill Money Con in a couple of weeks.
That's right. Hey, plug for Mill Money Con.
That's right. Lacey, go Lacey.
This episode is releasing Monday of Mill Money Con. Lacey Langford is, you've heard her on the podcast a few weeks ago. Yep. We'll both be there.
Yep.
Awesome.
See you.
Looking forward to it. All right. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.